Hey guys, it's Tozyro, and today I'm going to be talking about the benefits of letting your hair grow out during the quarantine period. So I actually went down the path of buzzing my hair. As you can see, it's quite short right now. It's been roughly a month since I cut my hair. But I'm trying to grow it out now, but you can actually just pick and choose which one you want to do. If you want to buzz it or if you want to let it grow out or whatever you want to do. By the way, I made another video talking about the pros and the cons of getting your hair buzzed during quarantine. So if you want to check that out as well, just to get some perspective, I feel like that would be quite helpful too. So I've actually done a video before of growing my hair out for just over a year and cutting it. That video did quite well. I got a lot of views, but I didn't actually make any money from it because it got copyrighted. So that's why like literally every single thing you do now, just liking and subscribing, commenting, all of those things actually helps me out a lot on the channel. Like every single one of those matters, especially because I'm a smaller channel. And also if you guys want to follow me on Instagram too, I post photos there quite frequently and I interact with my followers. So if you guys want to get in touch there, feel free to do that too. So anyways, getting into the video, if you are considering growing your hair out during this quarantine instead of getting it cut, that's really the main two options that you can do. And for many of you, you would have never grown your hair out before. Maybe you did like a few years ago, but this might be the first time you do it. And so I'm going to try to balance out the positives and the negatives and why you should do it, should you do it. And firstly, I just want to start off with saying that just like with getting the buzz cut, it's something that everyone needs to try at least once. You should try to see how your hair looks like. Just because at the end of the day, you know, if you want to have your own style, you want to make sure that you have the best style possible for your hair. And who knows, maybe long hair is the one that suits you the most, but you wouldn't have known that unless you tried it. And this of course applies if this is your first time growing it out. If it's not your first time growing it out, maybe this time, now that you're growing it out, you can try something a little bit different. Maybe instead of having it down, you can slick it back or try something like that. So you can actually do it different. Not every single hair growth journey is the same. For example, in my case, the first few times that I grew out my hair, I had a fringe. So I had it, coming down on my face and everything. And I like to keep my hair like relatively like straight during that period. But then more recently, when I've grown out my hair before, I just put it all back. I tucked it behind my ear instead of like pulling it down like this. So there's many different ways that you can go through that hair journey. It's not usually all the same. It depends on the products you put. It depends on how you style it, how you get it cut. So it definitely is worth exploring that a little bit further. Secondly, I just want to kind of mention, it's actually convenient to just let your hair grow out, because how else would you get a haircut? Would you get someone to cut it for you? Would you get your mum to cut it for you? Or like, all the barber shops are like closed. All the hairdressing shops too are closed. So it's just like, what you're going to do. It's much easier to just stay at home and not really worry about that and try to focus on other things, even though that you may be already running out of things to do. But even then, it's like you can focus on other things. That, I've been playing my bass a lot. So, I've been working on that. Maybe finally learn a new language that you've been meaning to do for a while. Just basically, you don't need to worry about that too much now, especially because you're not going to be seeing many people. It's usually going to be your family members. Yes, you may take a photo. So it's easier because you almost get a head start as well during the awkward phase. So the awkward phase happens for, I'd say, the first 4 months or so, maybe a little bit less. When you get towards the end, and of course, the awkward phase depends on how your hair is like. So what you're doing is essentially during quarantine, you're getting a head start on that awkward phase. If you've always wanted to grow your hair out, but you get to the awkward phase and you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this. The awkward phase is literally, you're going to get through most of it during quarantine. So that's actually like a very good point as well. So you don't have to wake up every morning going to work or going to school and just seeing your hair growing out of the sides here and be like, nah, that doesn't look good. You basically get through that. And obviously we don't know how long quarantine is going to last for, but however long it lasts for, you are going to have a head start through the awkward phase by staying at home and letting your hair grow out. Another very good point of growing your hair out is once quarantine is over and people can go out and get their haircuts, you can literally do whatever you want with your hair once it's grown out. I think a good way of thinking about it is like you've got like a blank canvas. When you have long hair, you essentially have a blank canvas. And you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to get the sides shorter, if you want to get the top shorter, if you want to get anything shorter, if you want to have like a top knot, if you have long hair, you can essentially do whatever you want. The choices are like limitless. With hair like this, I can literally not do anything. Like the most I can do is just either grow it out or get it cut shorter. So, I mean, that's definitely one of the benefits too. So if you get out of quarantine by the end and you're like, you know what, I don't like long hair anymore. And obviously this depends on how long it lasts for. You can just go ahead and do whatever you want with your hair. And of course, some speculate that it's going to last just until May. So that would give you about a month. But some other people speculate that it's going to last for a year. And growing your hair out for a year makes a huge difference, especially once you get over that 6th month mark. Like, it makes a massive difference. Your hair definitely looks very different. Just looking down here, look, here's a photo of me with my best mate. Do you see this? This is me right here when I was about a year and a few months in. So that was when I was like, what? I was like 13, 14 in this photo here. So interesting little comparison. Ignore my mate there. Yeah, so in terms of different hairstyles as well, like I've had plenty of hairstyles, but I can probably say that my favorite one was having long hair. There's just something like, of course you can have bad hair days, but once you have a good hair day, it's literally like the best thing. It's so hot, I might have to open a window. Hope it doesn't get too noisy. Probably won't, but I'm literally boiling in it. During this quarantine period too, I advise people to try different things in terms of their looks that they're not usually used to. Like, I've seen people try to grow out their beards when they've never done it before and stuff like that. And I mean, I'd say the same thing about like growing out your hair too. I know some of you have to do it by default. Some of you have no choice but to grow out your hair, and you're like, what am I going to do? So, and actually maybe even towards the end, once quarantine is over, nah, it's too loud, I might have to shut the window again. These cars keep coming by. Anyway, once quarantine is over, you might choose to keep on growing your hair instead of getting it cut. So obviously you get to pick if this lasts for the duration of quarantine or if it goes above and beyond that. So you've got plenty of choices as to what you want to do. As I said, it's literally like a blank canvas. Not to mention how it's quite unique as well. I mean, I don't know where you guys live. Comment down below where you live. But I know here in the UK, we definitely don't see too many guys with long hair. So it's participating in something a little bit more unique and kind of like that only you're doing. Because I know lots of people, including myself, are buzzing their hairs. Because I know lots of people, including myself, are buzzing their hairs. I can't fucking talk. And like a good chunk of the people that are growing their hair out, they're maybe doing it involuntarily. So as soon as quarantine is over and the barbershop opens, they're probably going to go ahead and just get it cut straight away. So if you do choose to keep it, it'll be quite interesting and it'll be unique, at least here from the perspective of the UK. And as far as I know, most other countries are like this as well. I know when I lived in Brazil, long hair wasn't usual at all. So it's also this like very unique thing that you get to do, and you get to express your hair however you want it. As I talked about in my other video about the buzz cuts, the pros and the cons. When you have long hair, you can basically model it however you want, not just as to the cut you can get afterwards. But if you just have, like, imagine you have standard long hair. So one day you're feeling a little bit more smart. You might choose to just kind of like slick your hair back, put it all back like this, put some gel in it. And another day you might be feeling a man bun. So you can go ahead and you can get a man bun, or if your hair is even shorter than that, you can still do different things like try out different partings, and you can express yourself through your hair. So it kind of like tells something about your personality in your hair, which I would argue is a very good point. Like some days you're feeling messy, you're going to scruff up your hair a little bit. So it's definitely a worthy point. And you can kind of mix and match with more outfits. As I said, if you're wearing a suit, you might choose to go for a man bun and those kinds of different things. If you want to go for that lumberjack look, whatever it is, it gives you more variety, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And it gives you more options for your arsenal. And depending on the outfits that you choose, you can kind of just have some fun. Right now, with a buzz cut, the only thing that I can do is put a hat on, put a beanie on, and this is it. And it's not the nicest thing because, as I said, there's just not much you can do. You can't change it depending on outfits and that kind of stuff, so it's definitely not too convenient. Okay, now that I've talked about the good sides, so let's go on to the bad sides, and there are quite a few of them too, might I mention. And of course, one of the worst things is the awkward phase. Sure, you're going to be going through the awkward phase at home, but the problem is if you are active on social media, something like Snapchat, where you just take a photo like this, people will get to see your hair. And as you're sending photos to your mates and stuff like that, maybe you're talking to someone, you send a photo to them and you look at the photo and you're like, my hair doesn't look good. I'm considering, buzzing it with a trimmer or something like that. And you think those things, and it's just, so it's like, it's not necessarily like you can really get away from it. Sure, you're at a better advantage because people aren't seeing you in person apart from like your family and stuff. But through social media, it's almost like that doesn't really matter anyway because people are still seeing you. And if you choose to post a photo and stuff like that, you know, people do still see you. If you don't really use social media, then that's literally not a problem at all. But if you do, then you might encounter that. Another one, of course, is depending on where you live. I know in America and here in the UK, it's summer right now. As I said, I'm like boiling. I really wish I could open my windows, but I'm putting effort into this video. So once it starts to get hot, we are going towards summer. You know, we're in spring going into summer. By the time lockdown's over, I predict it's going to be about June, July. That's going to be like right in the heart of summer. Having long hair during that time is not the nicest thing. It's quite convenient to have a clean cut during that time.
I got fresh cut, clean cut, you.
But when, you know, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, in terms of weather, ideally you'd want to have long hair in the winter and short hair in the summer, if you know, if you're talking about what's optimum. But essentially with long hair, you know, you're sweating, you know, you're gonna have to wash it more often during summer and everything, so it's not the most convenient thing. And like, especially here in the UK, it's getting so warm now. Like, there was like a massive increase in the temperature over the past few weeks, so that might really be putting people off growing their hair, and I really don't blame them for that. I see why as well. As I said, you can still have long hair during the summer, but it's just not convenient, not as convenient as if you were to have it in the winter. And talking about the awkward phase as well, even if you manage to go through without taking pictures and stuff like that, and you go through the awkward phase, maybe your awkward phase isn't even bad, but by the time we come out of quarantine, what if we come out in like a month? You're not gonna have had that much of a chance to grow out your hair. So, and then at that point, you might not really have a head start in the awkward phase. You might have just not made too much progress anyway. So you're going to be basically in the same position as you would be if you were to just decide randomly to grow out your hair. So that takes away that advantage, which is really annoying, because it's almost like, so you decide you're going to grow out your hair over quarantine. If quarantine is shorter than everyone expects, if they come out with like a vaccine, I'm not going to say that word. If they come out with a vaccine for the C word, because I might get demonetized for saying that. If they come out with a vaccine for it in literally a few weeks or maybe a month, you're not going to have had that much of a chance to grow out your hair. So what even is the point? You know what I mean? Like, it's literally, it would have been like growing out your hair any other time. But to be honest with you guys, there aren't too many downsides with growing out your hair during quarantine. I mean, you can almost examine as you go, you know what I mean? You can let it grow out for like a month, and then all of a sudden you're a month in and you're like, I don't like this, I'm going to get it cut. So you can manage it. Which is definitely an upside, especially compared to buzzing your hair, because once you've done a buzz cut on your hair, there's nothing that you can do. That's it. But when it comes down to growing your hair, you almost have full control over it. If you want to cut it, if you want to do some adjustments to it, like whatever it is, you can get that done. So that's why I'd say, like, even if you try to think of like negatives for growing out your hair during quarantine, there isn't actually too many, because literally, if you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I look shit, you can just go ahead, get some clippers and trim your hair. Or you can, you know, I don't know if you've got like a family member that can cut hair, but you can just get them to do it for you. So it's actually not that much of an issue. And of course, it does have its negatives. Like, everything has its positives and its negatives. But I do think that it is fewer than if you were to go ahead and get a buzz cut during quarantine. Although I would still recommend that you go check out that video. Link in the description if you want to check it out. But ultimately, to be honest with you guys, I'm growing out my hair. I'm planning to grow out my hair during quarantine. I've had it buzzed. As you can see, it doesn't look too good. An overgrown buzz cut, I'd argue, is some of the worst looks. And I'm really tempted to just cut it. But I'm going to try to grow it out a little bit. See how it goes. And chances are you should probably do the same too. I mean, you know, most of the people are going to go for either buzz or just let the hair grow out. So you should make an informed choice. You should see what works best for you. You should see what suits you the most and what you feel like doing, most importantly, because you probably have a gut instinct as to which one you should do the most. And, you know, gut instinct in many situations are right, so I wouldn't ignore that. But I would also take into consideration the different factors. Maybe ask a family member or a friend, because they might have seen you with like longer hair, so they can give an outside perspective, which is very useful. All right, guys, so that basically covers it. Once again, don't forget to subscribe, like, and check me out on Instagram. I'm going to finish this video here because I'm pretty sure I've covered everything and I'm actually boiling. So, yeah, thank you guys and see you later.